Hello, Mike. Today is Saturday and I am sunburnt. Mike, today I want to talk about something so important, so controversial, that there are going to be people who disagree with me. People are going to argue it left, right, and center, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong with you being wrong. Also, I may get a little bit ranty today, so I would just like to apologize in advance for any angry faces or things that I say. Mike, you and I are both comic book fans, and most importantly, both big fans of Batman. We live in a very interesting time right now where there seems to be this huge overload of superhero movies. Hollywood has kind of realized that this is something we want to see and they're capitalizing on it. I have no problem with this because I think for the most part the superhero movies that are coming out are fantastic. My problem is with the comic book fans. Mike, I would normally consider myself a comic book fan, but lately I've wanted to strip that title away and not be associated with comic book people at all. Mike, my frustration comes along with the fact that every time a new superhero movie comes out, there's this large group of people who say, it didn't stay true to the comic books. And today I'm here to ask you, does it have to? Who says that the new Superman movie, the new Wolverine movie, the new Batman movies, who say they have to stay true to the comic books? And if so, what part of the comic books do you have to stay true to? Mike, there's something very important to realize here. Just because something works as a comic book does not necessarily mean that it's going to translate well to the screen. Let me give you proof of this. Batman and Robin, Fantastic Four, Green Lantern, X-Men Origins Wolverine. All of these movies failed in the box office and also failed in the eyes of many comic book fans. In most cases, Mike, it was because of the story. The story just was not the story that a good movie should have. However, if you take the story from all of these movies and were to translate it into a comic, there'd be nothing wrong with it. Ergo, just because it's good as a comic book does not mean it's going to make a good movie. Mike, you made it clear to us on Wednesday that you're not a big fan of the third Spider-Man movie. You said you didn't like the fact that Spider-Man and Hobgoblin teamed up. I get it. For a movie, it felt a little bit crowded, a little bit silly, and kind of unbelievable. But Mike, stuff like that happens in the comic books all the time, and we don't question it. Mike, this isn't to say that when someone goes to make a comic book movie, they can just take the original material and crap all over it. Obviously, they wouldn't do that. Even from a business standpoint, especially from a business standpoint, for the movie studio, that doesn't make any sense because you are going to lose a lot of fans. I'll let you in on a secret, though. It's not the production company's job to impress the fans. It's their job to keep the fans happy while also creating new fans. And in order to do this, Mike, they make changes. They make changes to scripts, they make changes to story plots, they make changes to characters in certain small ways to make it more relevant to modern times, to make it more culturally acceptable. You have to remember, Mike, that most of these comic books, most of these storylines that we are taking these movies from were written 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, in a world that was very different than the world that we live in today. All that matters when you're taking a character from the comic book page and putting it on the big screen is that you keep the key essential characteristics that make that character who they are. If a certain fact is not absolutely crucial to this person, then it's up for debate on whether or not to change it. Mike, this shows up twice in the new Man of Steel movie. The director of the Daily Planet is a black male in this movie. In the comic books, it's a white female. The character's color and gender had absolutely nothing to do with who they were as a character, and therefore was okay to change. They did the same thing with Jimmy Olsen. I think they turned him into a girl named Jenny Olsen, which is fine, because at no point was Jimmy being a male an important part of his character. Obviously, when you are creating a new Batman movie, you have to keep some key essential things. You have to keep the fact that he saw his parents murdered in front of him when he was a small boy. You have to keep the fact that he uses the image of the bat to strike fear into his enemies. But if they want to make the next Batman Chinese or African American, go for it. There is absolutely nothing in Batman's character that says he has to be white.
Oh, but now you're not staying true to comics.
Who cares? When a movie director goes to make a film, they're not readapting someone else's vision for this character. They are showing you their vision of it.
But why can't we stick with the storyline that's already there?
Mike, what does that even mean? We do this all the time in comics. All the time. It's called alternate universes. It's called redoing stories. Every 2 years. Every 2 years. They come out with a new storyline, they change someone's origin a little bit, they add a new character, they change their costume, they make all of these changes. So why is this okay in the comic books but not in the movies? If tomorrow a new comic book comes out and they've rewritten the story for someone, we go, oh, this is different, but you know, I guess this is the direction they're going. If the same story comes out as a movie, we throw a panic attack and a little hissy fit because they haven't stayed true to the comics. True to what comics? There are like 9 different storylines for each character. At least 9 is being way generous for the opposing argument. There are hundreds of storylines for every character. So which storyline are we supposed to stay true to? Mike, what I'm trying to say is that I'm tired of people knocking movies because they didn't stay true to the comic books. Movies that were genuinely well produced, good movies, everyone went to see it, most people enjoyed it. Iron Man 3. I thought Iron Man 3 was amazing, but people had this huge, like, meltdown when it turned out that Mandarin wasn't the Mandarin that they knew from the comic books. What difference does it make? Mandarin's not a main character. You know what, if you were going to the movie theater and Mandarin was your favorite all-time character and you were excited to see him, then I understand, right? Maybe that's a little bit different. And I apologize, right? Because you were probably disappointed about it. However, for the rest of it, it didn't matter. It wasn't a big deal. Everyone kicked up a fuss when Superman, spoiler alert, when Superman broke General Zod's neck in the end of Man of Steel. People everywhere were yelling, saying Superman wouldn't do that. That's not right. Superman would not kill General Zod. And to that I replied, Superman just did. So you see, Mike, if we were going to make all these changes in the comic books, if we were going to change storylines, origins, stories, all of this stuff, then we need to be able to do it in the movies as well and be okay with it. Because the person whose job it is to make this film isn't interested in copying everything that they saw from the comic books. What a boring job that would be. And what a boring movie it would be. You'd already know everything. Why would you even go? Mike, I just realized that the whole time this video's been going, I had a beer opener, bottle opener, could be soda. It's a soda opener, and that's why I have it there. Anyways, Mike, I have to go before my head explodes because this is actually something that really annoys me and is driving me nuts right now. Even thinking about it. Thinking about this pisses me off. I'll see you on Wednesday.